Thousands of Cuban refugees continue to cross the Texas-Mexico border, but they aren't all being flown or bused to Laredo. Some are risking their lives and ending up right here in the valley. In a special report, CBS 4's Nestor Mato brings us the story of one man's dangerous journey at sea, fighting to reach freedom. Nestor.
Well, Eddie, his struggle at sea was just the beginning. Starved, he hitchhiked up Central America and ended up in a Mexican jail. He told me he was willing to die to reach the American dream. ¿Y cuánta gente fueron? Pablo Perez is overcome with emotion. He had to stop several times during our interview as he relived his dangerous and treacherous trip from Cuba to the United States. He and 19 others built a small boat over the span of 3 months, hidden from the Castro government. It was December 22nd when he and his 19 companions set out to sea from the city of Manzanillo in southern Cuba, the only home he had ever known, in hopes of reaching Central America. From the very start, the trip would prove to be difficult and dangerous, including a time when Perez had to push his makeshift boat through a sea filled with crocodiles.
Nosotros pensábamos que los caimanes nos iban a coger los pies. Y entonces íbamos empujando y cada rato nos alzábamos en la lancha para que los caimanes no nos cogieran.
Lost at sea, the group drifted over the ocean with nothing left but hope and prayers.
Al cuarto día nos quedamos sin combustible y poca comida.
Perez says a fuel ship found the group adrift and stopped to help. The Venezuelan ship captain telling them he would have to send them back, but Perez told him he was willing to die to reach the American dream.
Nos dijo que no iba a llevar para Isla Caimán para devolvernos para Cuba. Y yo le dije que si era para Cuba era mejor hogarse.
Perez says Cuba commits many human rights abuses. He says food is hard to come by. Many on the island are political prisoners. He says the dictatorship keeps its citizens poor, so to earn a living, he sold bathroom fixtures, but says that Cuban officials would take everything he sold because they said it was government property. They left him no means to work, no way to make money, and no way to survive. With the U.S. Coast Guard in Florida stopping Cubans on the water because of the wet foot, dry foot policy, more choosing to instead come through the Texas-Mexico border. The way to do that crossing is through Central America. Perez says after getting more food and water from the fuel ship captain, their boat broke down on a desolate Honduran island after 9 days at sea.
Y gracias a Dios ahí nos atendió una iglesia donde cual estuvimos 9 días ahí también.
Perez says the church helped him from the island to reach the coast of Honduras, where he hitchhiked his way all the way up to Mexico. There, he turned himself in to Mexican immigration officials and was detained. He said he was scared he would be deported back to Cuba.
Que si el cónsul de Cuba no llamaba por teléfono o no iba personalmente ahí, ella nos iba a dar un salvoconducto para poder llegar aquí.
During the long wait, he spent 15 days in a Mexican jail. He had no money to pay for his freedom, and his health was deteriorating. The good news was that Cuba never called. He was let go and then spent 3 days on a bus to Matamoros. He then crossed the Gateway International Bridge in Brownsville, where he requested political asylum. Cubans are considered political refugees by the U.S. government and are allowed to stay in this country without much difficulty. He says once he arrived, he met another Cuban who asked him what he was going to do next.
¿Qué problema yo tenía? Yo le dije que no tenía para dónde ir.
With no family, he was taken to the Iglesia Cristiana Ceneced, a Los Fresnos church opened by a fellow Cuban refugee 30 years ago. Pastor Filiberto Pereira, who says he was tortured by the Castro government for being a Christian, says he has housed thousands of Cuban refugees.
Cases like him, we receive so many. A Cuban like him suffering so much. I decided with my Lord to help people in need, because I was suffering the same, and we are very glad with this country that received us.
Y a mi pastor que lo quiero mucho, que nos atiende muy bien aquí.
Pereira has small rooms connected to the church with several bunk beds, keeping a handful of immigrants at a time, where he shelters and feeds them until they are able to get back on their feet. Church offerings keep it all going. Once Perez is here for a year, he will be allowed to apply for permanent residency. He says his plan is to stay here in the Rio Grande Valley.
El plan mío es esperar mi permiso de trabajo, trabajar y si pudiera quedarme aquí, quedarme aquí.
Well, Perez says the other 19 Cubans he fled with went their separate ways, many joining family members in Houston. Now, one reason for the spike in Cuban migration fears that the improvement with Cuban-American relations will put an end to the Cubans being allowed to seek refuge in this country. President Obama is planning a trip to the island next month, the first time a sitting president has gone to Cuba in over 80 years. In the studio, Nestor Mato, CBS 4 News and ValleyCentral.com.